opportunity to register and to update their registration and address details at their voting stations this weekend on Saturday the 9th and Sunday the 10th of April 2016. While registration for the upcoming 2016 municipal elections will continue at the Electoral Commission's local offices until the date of the elections is proclaimed Governance and Traditional Affairs, the opening of 22,617 voting stations this Saturday and Sunday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. provides the most convenient opportunity for voters to ensure they are ready to participate in this year's elections, which are scheduled to take place between mid-May and mid-August. As always, the Electoral Commission is hoping as many new voters as possible will join the existing 25.6 million registered voters to boost the voters' roll above its current level of about 75% of the eligible voting population. To significantly increase the current voters' roll will require a large number of young voters who are first-time voters to register this weekend. Statistics show that approximately 80% of the 8 million eligible voters who are not currently registered are younger than 30. Over 3 million South African voters visited their voting stations during the March registration weekend to register for the first time, to re-register and to update their registration and address details. This included almost 700,000 new voters, and it is hoped that at least a similar number will register this weekend. The Electoral Commission is also making a special plea to all existing registered voters to use this weekend to visit their voting stations to update and confirm their address details. The Constitutional Court found in November last year that a voter's address or sufficient particularities of their place of residence were essential to ensure that the voter is registered in the correct voting district. The Electoral Commission has subsequently embarked on a number of initiatives to update and confirm the address details for voters to enhance the quality of the voters' rolls, including urging all voters to confirm and update their address details during the registration weekend in March and this coming weekend. Existing voters can check whether additional address information is required for them by SMSing their ID number to 32810 at a cost of R1. They will receive an SMS back with the name of the voting station where they are currently registered. Voters for whom incomplete address details are currently captured will receive a second SMS urging them to visit their voting station to update their details. Voters can also check their status by dialing *120 *432# or online on our website at www.elections.org.za or call the contact center on 0800 11 8000 between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. In order to register or to update registration and address details, voters must complete a Rec 1 form, which is a voter registration application form, and present it in person at the voting station for the voting district in which they are ordinarily resident. To help speed up the registration process, an electronic PDF format of the REC 1 form will be available from tomorrow on our website at www.elections.org.za, which voters can complete online, print a copy, and bring it with them to their voting station this weekend. Voters without formal addresses will be required to complete and sign an affirmation form called a Rec AS form, accompanying the REC 1 form in which they attest to the fact that they live in the relevant voting district. In municipal elections, voters may only vote where they are registered, and voters are reminded that it is a criminal offense to knowingly register in a voting district in which they are not ordinarily resident. To find their correct voting station, eligible voters can, 1, call the contact center on 0800 11 8000 between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. Secondly, they may dial *120 *432 hash. Or thirdly, they may use the voting station finder application on www.elections.org.za. All those visiting a voting station should have with them a valid South African identity document, either a green barcoded ID book, a smart card ID, or a valid temporary identification certificate. The Electoral Commission is grateful to the Department of Home Affairs, which will once again open its offices between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. over the weekend to allow citizens to collect their IDs or to obtain temporary ID certificates in order to register. Voters will need an ID or a smart ID to vote. Finally, the Electoral Commission is appealing to residents of all areas to allow citizens to register unimpeded so that they can exercise their right to vote in these elections. Since the first registration weekend in March, the Electoral Commission has been engaging with stakeholders in all communities where voter registration was disrupted previously to ensure that all eligible voters are given an equal opportunity to participate in the upcoming municipal elections. We thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, CEO. Let me open the floor for any questions of clarity. Introduce your name as well as the media house you come from. I've got already 2 hands from the right side. Let's proceed with the question.
Morning. I think is it on? Marika from Jack Round FM. Just for some clarity, obviously we're still waiting for some information about what's going to happen with the Tlokwe by-elections and when they will happen and the registration of people that live in informal settlements or whatever. What's the implication of that for this? I mean, everyone is looking at the timeline that we have for these municipal elections to take place. And is it a possibility that they might be extended, that they might not take place this year? Just run us through that, please.
Okay. Marinda, that side? Yeah, and then afterwards it will be you.
Morning, Masake Gana from Eyewitness News. You spoke about the disruptions at various voter registration stations. Denver, George Koch, and Kapok were just a few of them in the last registration weekend. What are the measures in place to ensure that these
Okay.
Good morning, Alvin Sampier from SABC TV News. Just in terms of the application to the Constitutional Court and the decision to postpone the by-elections, I've read up on section 25(6)(a) of the Structures Act, and it says that the elections cannot take place within 90 days. Well, when the general elections of the municipal elections are set to take place within 6 months, that means that the manager of the council cannot proclaim an election date. Does this then mean that the people of Tlokwe, in this case, should just forget that there will not be a by-election that's going to take place because the Structures Act does not allow for that, considering that we still don't have a constitutional court ruling on this matter? And the final question is, President Jacob Zuma also signing the Amendment Act, the Amendment Structures Act, and I noticed that one of the issues that is included there is that now a voter who goes and vote will now be able to, if they want to change their decision before they put their ballot in the ballot box, they'll now be able to get a new ballot. How would that operate? Does this mean that the IEC will now have to print more ballot papers?
Thank you so much. Let us deal with this first round of questions before we take another round. CEO Pretoria by elections.
Yes. Thank you very much. My colleague will take the first question because I missed some of it, but my colleague will take, and if we need to come back to it, we'll do so. Let me start with the last question. The President signing the amendment bill into law, it's something we welcome. It's a matter we've been working on for quite some time, but the provision you are talking to is one that allows a voter who has spoiled their ballot before they deposit that ballot into a ballot box to exchange that ballot if they have changed their mind or for some reason they have spoiled it, to get a fresh ballot. They can only do so, or they will only do so for a limited occasion. And in any event, we will need to provide for such a voter. Yes, it is so that when one prints ballot papers, you look at the registered population in that voting district, but you also make provision for things like this where a ballot may be spoiled. And so there shouldn't be concern that we may be out of ballots, or we will print ballots wastefully. We look at the statistics and we make a percentage allowance for this kind of developments. In relation to the question on Section 25 of the local government, that provision, calling of a by-election. You will recall that in Tlokwe, where the by-elections were called, we no longer need to call them. They've just been postponed. So the municipal manager will not need to call them again. But where that provision at this time of our preparations becomes important is that closer to an election, the Act prescribes a period within which casual vacancies or elections in a municipality may not be called by a municipal manager. However, given certain imperatives, the MEC responsible for local government in that province may, after consulting with the Commission, proclaim a by-election. We do not have that situation as we speak currently. I trust it addresses addresses the question that you were raising. What are the measures that we have taken to ensure that disruptions are minimized? Our key duty is to ensure that we have persons who will be able to register and to vote. We talk extensively with stakeholders in the work that we do, such as voters, community leaders, political leaders, civil society organizations, and so on and so forth. But we also talk extensively to the law enforcement agencies. And we are hoping that in all of those discussions, which we have undertaken and continue to undertake, that the sum total of the implications of this on the work that we do will allow us to work fairly unhindered in the registration weekend that we are going to. The first question from Jacaranda, I missed some of it as I was trying to. Will you deal with it?
Well, the question relates. Oh, you want microphone?
No, okay. Let's rather. We'll shift around. Let's
No,
don't move. Yeah. We'll do the dancing. Yeah.
Okay. No, thanks. The question related to whether the postponement and the fact that the Concord has not issued judgment would affect the holding of the by-elections within the constitutional time frame. The position of the Commission is that we are planning to have these elections within the constitutionally mandated timeframes. That is, from any time from the 18th of May 2016 to the 16th of March, or sorry, of August. 26. Everything is being done to achieve that deadline. So, barring a major national catastrophe, these elections will happen in terms of the constitutionally mandated time period.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. If I can take the second round of questions, Dati.
Good morning, all. My name is Inside. I'm with African News Agency. Just to inquire, in the areas where you have to withdraw your staff, in the areas where your staff had to withdraw because of insecurity, how much of your, say, of your staff on the ground, for example?
Okay. I've got 3 other questions this side.
Given that voter registration was open in municipal offices, do we have a number as to how many people have registered up to this day? And do you know how many security personnel will be deployed to deal strictly with the elections, the election registration?
Okay.
Yodison Jamala from CCTV Africa News. You're saying, as per constitutionally mandated time period, the elections will be announced, right, within the dates from May to August. What we'd like to know is, when will the IEC actually announce the date? When will you know that you have to announce the date? Because May is next month. As she's already asked, last time you said it was mainly women and young people who pitched, which was, one of the highest numbers, unlike the previous years or previous elections. Can you help us with the stats? How many women? Do you know the percentage? And young people? And are you expecting the same this coming weekend?
Let me take the last question.
Okay, thank you so much. Tidi Madia from Power FM, Power News. I just want to get a question. I actually want to add to a question I think somebody asked you already about the hotspots. I know you said that you were meeting with the communities where violence flared up over the last registration period. I want to ask you about what's on your watch list right now. Are you concerned about specific areas ahead of this weekend? That's the one question. Secondly, proceedings, and a lot of questions have been happening around that particularly. Does this worry the IEC in terms of whether or not it's dented public perceptions of whether or not the IEC can do its job? Are you worried about how people perceive the IEC and its abilities? Are you doing something about that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. CEO, let's start with staff security.
No, let's deal with the last one. It's easier to remember the last things first. I think, one of the things that we can help ourselves with, easier than expect anybody else to help us with, is to do what we are meant to do. And that's a call every one of us is resolved to accomplish. We will speak as we are required to speak, but we will do everything in our power and to the best of our ability. That's what we will do from this institution. And that is our resolve to go and make our work happen as it should happen. Now, when you do that, of course you've got to be aware of the environment within which you operate. And we are. Where there have been issues affecting our staff members, we've had to address those issues, to the extent that we could address them. Where these are issues that are affecting communities, we have engaged openly with those communities to the point where solutions may be found, where those solutions don't lie with us. There are matters that are before the courts. That's one way of resolving those disputes. And it is important that all of those matters are handled in a manner that is civil and will not unduly harm lives that are, or innocent lives, so to speak. So we have everything on our watch list. Ensure that our staff get to the voting stations on Saturday, that they are fully prepared for the job at hand. We have to ensure that they understand the work that they need to do. But we've also got to ensure that voters know what they need to bring. We've also listened to voters and tried to make life easier for them. We have indicated at this press briefing that we have developed a form. It will be online tomorrow, where voters can capture their details and simply present that form at the voting stations. These are initiatives we undertake because we will let our actions speak more than what, proverbially people will just want to say. It is important that people, provide their details to us as they are required to provide those details. But it is also equally important for us to facilitate how well they could do so, even in the time frames that we have before us. Places we are worried about, the rest of the country is our territory this weekend. We will worry about it, every 1 square kilometer of it. But there are specific places that we are on our watch, and where we've had to take measures. And please permit me to indicate that today it's not about sharing security concerns and things. These are matters for security, the security cluster to deal with. But to the extent that we can facilitate that, I want to assure you that we have taken care that we deal with those issues. To deal with those matters, and we'll continue to deal with those issues, as well as we should deal with those issues. The issue of registration at our local offices and the numbers that we are expecting. One must admit that. And we say so openly to yourselves and to this nation. We know South Africa. We work in this country. We are part of it. South Africans would like things made easier for them. Yes, registration is open Mondays to Fridays at our local offices. Makes it much easier for everyone, one, to visit the voting station, which is correct for them in that area where they live. They get acquainted with it, they get acquainted with our processes, and they don't have to travel to where we are. But the issue is, people don't do that every day. That's why we create this opportunity, and we make a call that let's use it to the best of our ability. How many people we are expecting? If you ask me, the eligible voters that are yet to register or yet to provide their sufficient particularities or address, and that's what we really want, and we'll do everything that we can to ensure that we deal with this. The youth, those statistics we'll make available to yourselves. I don't have it immediately with me, but it is important to indicate, as we have done previously, that young people are understandably a greater gap on the voters' roll because they have not had many opportunities to register and vote, like many others who are more senior to them have had. And and that's why we are looking at these opportunities. We are communicating to them more than anybody else at the moment. We are trying to understand the issues that they wish to raise with us so that we make it easier for them to engage. We do everything to ensure that their vote also counts when that period comes. I'm confident I've missed one or two things. Granville and Sai, please do help me.
Could there be any additions?
No, I think Granville will deal with when is the date. May is next month.
Oh. Oh.
So Granville
Will
can,
deal?
yes,
Yes.
can deal with that.
Yes.
So
Let me help. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
My colleague reminded me. I'd like the privilege of announcing a date for an election, but it is not my place in law. It is in fact a matter specifically reserved for the minister responsible for cooperative governance and traditional affairs. I'm confident. You will recall that the minister will do so after consulting with the commission. There are ongoing consultations. They're proceeding well, and I am confident that the minister will find an opportunity to put this matter to rest and announce a date sometime soon. I cannot,
Yeah.
assume that responsibility. I don't know the date. Having consulted, of course, he will then determine that date and make it known to all of us in the nation. And I am hoping that we will get to know about that soon.
Okay. Thank you, CEO. Let me take the last batch of questions. Follow up. The number of registered people, voters roll.
We have indicated, and thank you very much, we have missed that. In the media statement that we'll make available to you, we have 25.6 million people on the voters roll at the moment.
Okay. Let me take the last round before we wrap up. Aldrin?
Alvin Cynthia again from SABC TV News. I'm going to ask the question again on Section 25.
Okay.
Is it possible to have a by-election in the next 5 months in those municipalities where the by-elections have been postponed, taking into consideration Section 25, subsection A2, that it can't happen if the elections were to happen within 6 months, the general elections were to happen within 6 months. Is it really possible to have by-elections over the next few months? And then in the case of Vuwani in Limpopo, we understand that the municipality hasn't been set up yet. The Vuwani incorporating Malamulele as well. That municipality hasn't been set up, and the court is yet to hear that matter, I think sometime next week. How does that then affect the work of the IEC heading forward when you have a case where a municipality hasn't been set up yet those people are called out to register to vote and possibly vote without that municipality having been set up? That's it. Thank you.
Let me take another question before the IEC panel. Okay.
As Konachana from ENCA, this issue of addresses, is there a way that the IEC is going to deal with making sure that people register where they live?
Okay. Got the question.
Yeah. So.
Alrighty. Any other? Okay, Andrew?
want-
A follow-up? All right. Okay.
So
There's a domination of the mic there.
But
All right. Okay.
in the Constitutional Court application, the CEO, you indicate that the IEC will not be able to meet the standards set out by the Electoral Court by June. And you say that it will only happen by 2020, the earliest would be 2020. In a case where the Constitutional Court then upholds the ruling of the Electoral Court, does that then mean that the IEC will have no choice but to postpone these elections and possibly the 2019 elections?
Okay. Thank you very much. You know, I've spoken to Sai, my colleague, to answer the question on 25.6. I have a sense there's a question, there's an answer. You want us
to convince. I agree. Yeah. There is a possibility.
So
okay.
I've given you an answer, and I want to hear him give the answer.
Okay, he'll be the last. You'll start.
Let's talk about Vuan in Limpopo. It's not correct to say that there is not a municipality set up. It is. It is being challenged.
No. The council isn't there.
Oh yes.
It doesn't include.
The situation is this, and it is important for us to say this. Remember that the work that the Municipal Demarcation Board has concluded comes into effect on election day this year. The fact that there will be a new municipality or some municipality will be amalgamated does not mean that they've already been amalgamated yesterday or in December. It is on election day. So the municipality will exist on election day. What we are seeing at the moment is that it is being challenged, and the court will say whether it proceeds or does not proceed. But it is important that it is an established municipality with effect from that date. And remember, when voters vote on that date, they are not voting on the old demarcation. They are voting on the new one. That's why we are registering people in the manner that we are doing at the moment. Addresses. We have indicated in this media statement that we are working hard to, even in this call, to ask for voters whose particulars we do not have. Let me say to you that enormous amounts of efforts have been taken to source addresses where we can source them and to deal with that. You will note when you go to the voting stations this weekend, you will note that the voters' roll has addresses where we have them. And one of the issues we are asking you to do is for those people that have not been able to check on our website, to SMS and get their address details, or in fact, get to the PDF format that we have on online, that they can go to the voting station and check those details at the voting stations. They will be there. And so we are doing a lot of work. I did indicate earlier that it is best for us to continue to do what we are required to do than to sit and just talk about these things. There's a lot we are undertaking. I'm very reluctant for us to talk about the matter before the Concord. I think it is important that we like all of us, respect the fact that whilst this matter is before the court, we need to be guided in respect to how we deal with it. But I do want to say this. Perhaps for many, going to court is picking up a fight. We are not. We are not picking up a fight. We are sensibly trying to address a matter that potentially has ample room to create uncertainty. And we are seeking, if you look at our papers, quite a bit of clarity before the courts. Yes, there are issues we are placing before the court as we understood them to be, but we are clearly saying to the court, to the extent that this may not be what you were ordering, let's obtain the clarity that you would want us to have so that we proceed with the work that we need to do in the manner that we should proceed with it. And I think if that is obtained, the uncertainty has been clarified. All of us will proceed, each one of us, whether we be voters, we will do what the court says. This is what we meant, and this is what we want you to. We understand you have to do in law. We will do that. And I think that for us is the value in the thing that is before the court. We do not and we cannot afford the uncertainty that that can create amongst us. I'm going to let you deal with Aldrin's Section 25 S6.
As I understand it, the question is it possible to have the elections post the 6 months period? The 6 months period came into effect on the 18th of February. The categorical answer to that is yes, it is possible to have an election post the 6 months period. And the reason for that is, although the provision inhibits the municipal manager from declaring a vacancy and calling a by-election, the MEC responsible for local government in the particular province has a discretion to call a by-election in circumstances where he feels perhaps there's a hung council or the issue of the people's representation is paramount, and so on and so on. So it is possible. Having said so, in respect of the Pretoria by-election, in our papers we are asking the court to either order that those by-elections be held 6 weeks from the date of its order, order that they be held in abeyance until the general elections of municipal councils. So the court will make a determination on those seven ones.
Cool. Thank you. Aldrin, you are covered now, ne? Okay, beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, I think all matters of clarification have been dealt with. All what's left is that we go out and ensure that South Africans understand exactly what they need to do as we go towards a final voter registration weekend. Thank you once more for your support and ensuring that South Africans have the correct information for weekend. IEC team, thank you very much. Alrighty. Thank you. Sideline interviews. Sidelines interview. Let's see. Don't go. Just so don't leave. I want to. Yes. Yes. What's the statement? Yes, you can. Let me get. Okay. Let me get someone to give us. So we spend some money just to double check because no quick statement.
Okay. I didn't realize you given me a cell phone.
Yes, I should have made it.
I don't know.